So let me start. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sister Chat Talk Show. This is our special Black History Month special. October is Black History Month, as we know. And as our sisters, we like to celebrate and salute all those that came before us, that will come after us, and that are current and present in our lives today. So welcome to Sister Chat Talk Show, a topical talk show for sisters of today. And we are on LWR and on Facebook. I've got my sisters with me as usual. I've got two special sisters, really special. And so, sisters, we have Karen Hewitt. How are you, Karen?
I'm good, Rosie. I'm happy Sunday. Well, I shouldn't say happy Sunday. Happy day, everyone.
Happy day. And we have our Lavern Benn.
Hi everyone.
How are
Good
you,
to be
Lavern?
here. I'm very well. I'm glad to be here.
So it's October the 26th, and it's our Black History Month special, and we've got a special guest. And so I'm going to introduce, we're going to go straight into it today because time is running out for our special guest, and we're privileged to have him with us. He's been with us before. He came and he did our Christmas musical special. So I'm going to welcome Kyle. Hello.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you anytime. Now, you've got some big things going on, haven't you? You've got a big single coming out. You're busy doing all your stuff. I know you're just at Ronnie Scott's this afternoon. So you're really, really busy. So it's a privilege that you've taken the time out to meet with us today. So we're going to crack on and we're just going to hand it over to you. Tell us what you want to tell us. Tell us what you've been doing.
Yeah, there's been a whole range of things. I'm recording, I'm doing collaborations, I'm writing music, I'm performing live in a lot of different situations, and I've just really applied myself. Today it was a Cafe Society Swing, which is a story set in 30s America, and Cafe Society Swing was the first racially integrated jazz club. So there's a really great story. So all the American songbook stuff is in there, and it's actually a theatre show, but they've got they've got a version that's suitable for the club scene. So I've been involved in this project for about 9 years, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's like a musical. It's got theatre in it, really, and a lot of great jazz music. So we played at Ronnie's today. We did the afternoon session. It was amazing.
So you're so busy, but let's go back a bit. How did it all start? How did your musical journey start? Just for those people that don't know you, just give us a little quick summary of your history.
Quick snapshot. It started as a kid, you know. My father played guitar, and then he taught me how to play. And in fact, in Jamaica, my grandfather, great grandfather, they all played guitar, banjo, and mandolin and stuff. So I picked it up. It's like it's in the blood, you know what I mean? So that's where it started for me, seeing my father play. Then after that, I actually just I played whilst I was at school and college, and then went to university. My dad told me not to do music full time, but he said don't give it up, because it's something that you could fall back on. So I've always kind of like just.
Unfortunately, we've lost Powell, so hopefully he'll come back on in a minute. So anyway, I think he's come back on now. So we're privileged to have him. So he's actually talking to us from Ronnie Scott's. So I think we're going to have to bear with it and just roll with it. So it's just great to have him. Actually, he's always a great musician, and I know he's doing great things. I myself went to see him at the Pizza Hut in Holborn a few months ago, and it was a sellout. It was a sellout sensation. So it's great what he's doing for Black History Month. It's great that he's doing his singleness about the Windrush Generation, and we will play this. We will play it so our listeners can have a listen of that. But we've lost him for now, so we're going to go. We're going to jump a little bit here, and we're going to go to our Lavern. Lavern, it's Black History Month. It's so important to us. I mean, we're Black every month, yeah?
We are indeed. Yeah, we are.
We're Black every month and every day, 365 days of the year. But I think it is important that we celebrate it. I think it's important that England is starting to recognise it, and England is now beginning to take steps to make sure that they do it. Did you see what was on the telly the other day? What was it called, Karen?
It was the awards, the Windrush, and it was a special
Pride
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 it
of
was
Britain. It was the
hosted by
Pride of
John
Britain Awards,
McDonald.
wasn't
It
it?
was excellent.
It was absolutely
It's
excellent.
really good. Yeah.
It was
Really, really
really good. It's a long time coming. We've been there for 75 years and they're beginning
know.
to recognise 75 years and beginning to recognise it. But just thinking about the Windrush, I mean, that's like, well, that's my parents anyway. And that's, I'm sure that's your parents as well. And I just salute them and I just celebrate them. And yesterday we buried another great Windrush legend from our church, Mr. Beckford, may he rest in peace. And we're all thinking, oh my God, that generation is just, they're dying, aren't they? You know, and they've left such a legacy for us. And we was all saying, how did they do it? How did they leave their homeland, come over here and put up with what they put up with?
Mm-hmm. Well, my mum came on her own to my dad, so she has no family here. My dad had his brother, but she had no one. So it was just my mum and my dad. So I don't know how at the age of 20, she left her homeland. I can't imagine my children at 20 saying, oh, mum, I'm going to go 4,000 miles away to a man that I've not known that long, and I'm leaving you all. I would say, what are you thinking of? Have you lost your mind? But yeah, she did it and made it, and she did okay. She did okay.
And you know what makes it incredible is that they didn't have any internet. They didn't have no televisions. They had no idea what they were coming to. They thought this is the motherland. They thought England was the great all be all. And they had blind faith in the English Empire and just picked themselves up and went.
And it was about getting the vision of a new future, wasn't it? A new beginning, not knowing what the motherland was like. But, you know, that program for me was really good to highlight how far, how tough, how resilient that generation were and how far they've come, and the legacy that they're leaving for our generation and our generation onwards. You know, what are the positivity about overcoming adversity, really? And I'm always saddened when I think about, especially younger generation who I work with mainly, not taking up that opportunity, not really understanding the history that their grandparents or even their parents went through to take advantage of that resilience and to stay strong. And things don't always work out, but look, if you've got a vision, you can keep going. It's not easy though, but I think they're definitely a generation we must continue to celebrate forever.
Definitely. I think it is a shame, and I agree with you, Karen, and it does, you know, when you read stuff in the newspapers and you think about the young people, how some of them are behaving. Fortunately, there's so many good young Black children that are doing excellent, really doing well. The universities are actually teething over with young Black people actually going into university and doing exactly well. And that's what our parents wanted. They came over here in blind faith and wanting a better life for their children. But come over and, you know, and I've mentioned it before, my dad slept on Coventry Railway Station in the snow for 3 days, him and his best friend. And I know our lovely Sister B, who we all know, I mean, she was sort of saying that she wanted to go back, but they just didn't earn enough money to go back. Right. And then they started having children, and that was almost an impossibility, isn't it? It's that 5-year plan that they had in their heads. It just didn't work out. And then and the irony of it all, that program showed us, it was Enoch Powell that invited all the nurses over.
I know. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, he invited them all over. And then it is this rivers of blood speech, really. But I think the tragedy of it all is that really we were the slaves of the empire. So all they were doing was really using their old slaves again, you know? So for me, it's like they just said, oh, World War, and we all know that if it wasn't for World War II, they wouldn't have invited us over here. No. There wouldn't be. It was the World War that got us over here because they had no intentions of offering free passage to anybody in the Caribbean. It was out of their need, once again, as was the slave trade, where they needed us to, you know, take us to the islands and the Americans and become slaves for them at no cost. And obviously they couldn't quite do that this time round. So they paid us the minimum amount of money, invited us over, paid us the minimum amount of money, and our parents couldn't work their fare back. They just couldn't do it. It just didn't have enough money because they had to pay for rent, look after their children. They were trapped.
I remember my mum telling me that when she first came here, her week's wage was £7. It was £7 a week. Now, I think it cost them £28 to get here. And then it's £7 a week earning money. So after rent and food and everything else, they really couldn't do it out of £7 a week, working in the factories and the buses, and it was really, really tough. They were stuck. They were literally stuck.
It was stuck. And I guess that's where, that's why it's so important for me on Black History Month to celebrate the positive messages, because we can hear get the media to all the negative things, and we'll always think we're victims. But the positive, like that program last week of overcoming adversity, and to your point, Lavern, that's where your partner draw come in, because the banks were never going to lend us any money. No. So therefore, because as a community we were stuck, there was a real community to pull together. Your shabby, your dance, your paid dance, bottle party dance. Then we weren't able to go to clubs and bars, so therefore we create our own parties. And there was a different camaraderie. That's where Carnival came from. So the whole Caribbean can get together, not just Jamaicans, St. Lucians, everybody. So it's a whole kind of finding a way around the adversities they were facing to try and get together to save money, to get a first mortgage, because the banks weren't going to offer that straight away, to socialise. It was so important that that community side, and I think that's the bit that I hope that, again, is still a legacy.
It really is. It was such a courageous, brave thing to do. It was so, and the thing is, it was tomfoolery, though, as my dad said. It was propaganda, wasn't it, really? Because it really wasn't. I think they were sold it. So I suppose if they'd been your slave masters for nearly 500 years, you're going to believe everything everything they say, because they were children of descendants. If you think our grandparents are probably just like 2-3 generations, so and the school was the British system. So everything they were taught in Britain, my mum said they were taught nothing about Africa at school. They were all they were taught about was the British Empire. So at the end of the day, they actually, like their predecessors, their ancestors who were slaves, they were still in that mentality and just believed everything. They believed what the British people said: come make a life, you're going to earn money, you can go back home, you can build a house, you can build this. And they really, really believed it. So can you imagine when they got here and to see that sign, no black, no dogs, no
Irish,
the signs on the wall, and can you imagine the smog, because those days it was heavy smog, wasn't it? The heavy smog and the damp and Lord,
and living in the one room. Yeah, that whole living in the one room with the basin that you wash in, that you wash up in, and the 2-ring stove for you to cook in for you and your family. Like the book by Andrea Levy, and her depiction of that with Small Island. And I asked my mum to read it once, and she said she couldn't read it because it was just so true to life. She just didn't want to bring back the emotion that whole book evoked, because that was her world when she came, with the one room and me and my dad and my mum in the one room with the basin that we washed in, and then the sink that we washed up in. So,
my dad talked about that the smog was so thick that there used to be somebody walking with a lantern.
That's correct.
The streets to help guide the cars, because the smog, because that's the dirt and the filth that London, the UK had, but definitely London had.
Burning the natural coal fuel. The coal fuel. You couldn't see your hand before your face. No. That's how bad it was.
Oh God, this is heartbreaking. You're listening to LWR. This is Sister Chat, and we are not live this month, I should say. We are on LWR, and we are on Facebook. You can get in touch with us on sisterchattalkshow.com. gmail.com. And I have my lovely sisters with me. I have Karen Hewitt and the lovely Lavern Benn. And we did have Kaio, the musician, jazz musician, and unfortunately his internet is dropped out. So we're hoping that he will come back on. And when he does come on, we'll slot him in. So this is our Sister Chat Black History Month special. And as you can hear, an emotional, really, we're talking about an emotional journey for our parents, because we are that generation that was born from our parents that came from the Windrush. So it's a real painful experience when we think about what our parents went through, and just they sacrificed their life for us to have a better life, and for our children to have a better life as well. So you're listening to Sister Chat Talk Show, a topical talk show for sisters of today, and we are doing our Black History Month special. Later on in the programme, we are going to highlight, and we're going to be talking about our heroes, people who've made a positive impact on the Black community in Britain and abroad. We're also going to be hearing from Lavern. Lavern is going to be talking about something that's also very personal to me. She's going to be talking about raising awareness of Black breast cancer awareness. So we're going to hear from Lavern shortly as well. So you're listening to Sister Chat Talk Show, a topical talk show for Sisters of Today on LWR. So yes, my sisters, it was a painful journey for our parents, indeed. And there's a new program. Lenny Henry's got a program coming on, hasn't he, as well? He's written
Tonight, isn't it?
tonight.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock, isn't it? What was it?
8 o'clock. Three Little Birds.
Three Little Birds.
Maybe after the song, the Bob Marley song, I would imagine.
Yes.
Everything's going to be all right. Well, here's hoping. They thought it would anyway. They thought it would. They hoped it would.
Yeah. They had a hard time, didn't they? The what's it? The skinheads. My dad spoke about the skinheads and the what's it called again? The other boys, the mods.
National Front.
Can you imagine it? I mean, how would we have coped? How do you think we would have coped in all of that?
I can't even imagine it. That's the thing. I can't even imagine it. And we've all got our own personal journeys ourselves now. So we're probably facing things that they wouldn't equally. Yeah. I mean, the veterans of the National Front, you know, the British National Party are very, very prevalent in my upbringing. You know, knew about it. You saw the graffiti everywhere. So I was very, very aware of that. And for me, it was much more, my experience has been much more subtle. Sometimes that's the worst. Because that's the one with, you know, someone speaks with forked tongue that you think everything's all right, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I'd rather mow overt racism in my face when it's subtle. How do you fight that? You don't even know you're dealing with it, that microaggression. So I don't know how I would cope, Rosie. I'm pretty, you know, soft as it is. I don't know if I would have coped with it, when I would have run back. But then I guess everyone, that's what the program tonight would be about. You know, everyone's come from a different background. Not everybody left their motherland with a wonderful journey themselves. Some people, they're going to be their child to try and make a living.
Yes.
But remember that not everybody left a wonderful scenario.
Yes.
You know, lots of our Black men left the Caribbean here to try to make that living, and then sent for their wives and their kids.
Absolutely, Karen. That's a really good point, because my dad always says that as well, because you get some people who never ever returned back again.
No.
Never went back because they left under adverse circumstances, and we don't even know what those circumstances was. They had to find £28. That was a lot of money those days. How did they find that money? You don't know what they did to get that money. And also, I have to salute the mothers as well. So many mothers left their children in the Caribbean. And there's, you know, some of them came over here, met new partners, had more children, and never even sent for the ones that were in the Caribbean. Sometimes they didn't even know, their husbands didn't even know that they had children. There was also incidents where some women came over here to do the nursing and work on the buses, and they had their husband back in the Caribbean. They had a child here. They had put the child in care, and then sent for their husband, had more children, and 45 years later, there's a knock on the door. And here is his son or his daughter. And I actually know several people who actually were put in children's homes here and found their mothers later on in life. So, but can you imagine the decision to do that? That wasn't a decision that woman would have taken lightly, you know.
Society's view as well, isn't it, about being that mum? Maybe she would have had to bring up her child as a single person, then sent for a husband who may not want that other child or even didn't know about that other child. And it happened in many, many combinations. So it was terrible, terrible decisions that had to be made on that front.
It's also them making the decision. And then when the child did come, if they could afford to send for them, then when that child comes over, he's got brothers and sisters and siblings that he's never met. He hasn't a bond with his parent because he hasn't seen them for 5 to 7 years. He has the bond with the grandmother or the grandparent or the aunt or the uncle. He may not even know that aunt and uncle isn't his parent until they're torn away from them again. And then they have this relationship with this new family and they don't know their parents anymore. So how do they ever make that bond? How do they ever reconnect when the formative years have been away from their birth parents?
It's that abandonment, isn't it, Cindy?
Yeah.
And it does. I mean, I know people where personally where, one was left behind for the right reasons. Money might have been sent back home to get the person through schooling, to get the person through education, but for that individual, they felt abandoned. The ones here didn't see that, thought, I'm actually earning money to give you a better life that you may not have had if I was there. And that's where the clash is. Neither party really, because in the Black community, I know from Jamaican parentage, kids were seen and not heard, so therefore don't ask too much questions. It is what it is. Don't challenge too much. And so people weren't as open as they are now. Things were more hidden. So therefore that child and that mother probably never, ever had that proper conversation.
Never. I know I've said it before. I had it in my family. My sister was left in Jamaica and she never really recovered from it. She never reconciled really with my parents right up to her death. She never really did, and I think no matter what my mum did, it was never gonna be good enough. No. And that was the story of so many people, of my friends and stuff, that had elder siblings. And also sometimes the elder sibling often felt that they were being used because some of them were sent for to look after the younger children as well. So they came over and they to find that they were like stand-in parents. They had to cook, clean. You hear stories of like some of them saying that they came over when they were 10 and they were cooking fish on the stove. Their parents were out at work and they had to come clean, cook the kids, plait kids' hair, all sorts of things. And they were only children themselves. So, and some of them had this wonderful, I know for my sister, she had a lovely life in Jamaica. And then she came over here and she was expecting to comb our hair, take us to school. But my sister was of the character where she rebelled. She wasn't going to do none of that. I think my sister must have combed my hair once. I love you, Carmen, and rest in peace. But I know, and the one time she did comb my hair, she got the back of the comb.
Yeah.
And just chucked me in my head bag. I said, "No, but I move." And because she was Jamaican, she was like, my sister was like rough and tumble. You know what I mean? And she locked me in a vice grip between her legs. And it's like my head chopped in the head bag, I mean, oh my days, that lady, I told her, let her rest in peace, but she was just absolutely hysterical. And that was the only time. And one other time she did comb my hair, or it might have been the same time, she put my hair in an afro. And I went to school, and when I got to school, all kids were going, ooh, 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 ape sounds. Like calling me a monkey because I come into school with an afro. And my oldest friend, who I'm still close to this day, Eileen, I said, Eileen, go and get Carmen. Eileen ran like a Trojan all the way home. She got my sister Carmen. My sister Carmen run to the school. Oh my God, what a commotion, because she liked the excitement of a fight. And she terrorized the head teacher for the whole afternoon, saying that she sent her sisters to school. And they called me ape, they were calling me monkey, they're making all those noises. So we suffered as well. Yeah.
I remember being bullied on the way home from school. These kids used to run after me and my friends. So I was in Southwest London, but in a school where I was very, very much a minority in Streatham, Norbury actually. And so these kids, these two brother and sister, used to run after us every single day. So we thought we were smart and we'd go out the way we weren't supposed to go, which was just the back way to the school. So we'd run out of there because it was closer to home. They'd have to go the other way and we'd get a head start. but we just never got away from them. And then I remember once coming home from, Sunday school, church and Sunday school, and I got chased down the road again, and there was called a Paki. And my affront was they got the wrong colour. Not that I was being chased, they called me a Paki, so they got it wrong, and that was what I was upset about. It completely went over my head that it was a racist taunt. The fact that they got the wrong race was my issue, not that I was being racially taunted.
They were ignorant, very much ignorant. I guess so any of our listeners, that word was a word used quite openly back then, but now it's a very, well, it is a derogatory term, isn't it?
It is.
The P word, like the N word. But I don't know, I guess I'm fortunate. I never got bullied. I was fortunate. I never got bullied. The area I lived in, majority black kids in West London. And then we moved to different schools. It was very mixed. So I'm not aware of being bullied at all. So I sometimes feel, should I have been? Was I? I wasn't. But then, this is my experience. But then at school I was already 5'8".
Oh wow! Okay.
Tall girl, well set. So didn't smile much. So I guess probably people would have had to take a chance, have a real think about it. I'm as soft as butter, but they had to have a real think about it. So I was just fortunate. I had a great school. Never had anything like that. I didn't have to. We went to school locally. Didn't have to take local buses or anything. But racism was in a very different way.
Yeah.
So my experience was more being that I was an athlete. I did a lot of sports and did very well at a lot of sports, and I was loving it. My academic studies wasn't great, and my mum and dad had that clash with me being put in netball team, basketball team, rounders team, discus, 200, you name it, I was doing it. And the teachers were happy because as long as they were winning medals at that school, the black kids were picked in the classes.
Right.
Don't worry about my maths, don't worry about my geography, don't worry about having to come out. And that was the thing about my parents always saying, if the teachers put as much emphasis on my academic achievement than promoting you to do, Karen's brilliant because she can do this club, that club, that club. And that was a microaggression I never thought about, because they had no ambitions for me to be anything, but to be an athlete and to get the school medals. That's probably where I know my generation and my people around, my colleagues around me or school friends, that's where we got stuck in that rut there. And our colleagues who were from Asian, who were not necessarily as athletically gifted, were always at the front of the class in physics and chemistry and all the rest of it. And we black kids were at the back having a great old time, having fun. I was one of the ones enjoying myself at the back of the class. And when time ready, I'm going to rehearsals. I've got a netball practice. So I'm not even thinking about homework. I've got things to do. And that's where you really notice it. Actually, would I accept that now from my nieces? No, I wouldn't.
See, that's where systemic racism comes in, isn't it? Really, it's propelling you to do something that is not to your advantage. And I think they did that. That's what a lot of black boys ended up like that at school, didn't they? They ended up going into sports or music, or we just wasn't encouraged because their mindset. We were the firstborn here, they didn't encourage us to become academic. I remember it's also having the same experience, Karen. I wasn't very athletic, but I wasn't really encouraged to be sort of academic as well. And I remember once being in a maths class and thinking I couldn't do maths, and I had an Asian teacher, and it's really funny because he did an equation and it was really, really quite hard. And he said, "Can anyone work it out?" And I actually put my hand up. But do you know what? I even remember the answer now. It was 28. And he just looked at me in amazement. And I was even amazed myself. I frightened myself. I couldn't believe I got it right. But nobody had ever explored, am I good at maths? No. Do you know what I mean? And like you, Karen, I went to it was at the time, it was maybe 50-50 black, white. So, there's lots of black kids at school as well. But all the black kids were encouraged to do sports. They were all athletic. They all did netball and football, and that was where they were encouraged. And of course, some of our parents found it hard to challenge those white teachers because it was still and I keep saying it's still the slave mentality where white is right. You know, it's a white slave master, and you can't really challenge. And a lot of our parents didn't challenge because they didn't know how.
No, that's
I
right.
agree with that. Yeah, they didn't know how. And also, I think that we weren't stimulated in the right way as children. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of Black children of our generation have ADHD because we just weren't stimulated in the right way for us to learn. So the sports was the way for us to take out our natural athletic abilities. But if they had maybe taught us a different way, and I remember seeing someone saying, turn on the tap. Now, if you're Jamaican born or Caribbean born, you don't have a tap, you have a pipe. So they say turn on the tap, and they're like, what are you talking about? It's not that they're stupid, it's just not the word that they would use. They would use a pipe, and that's what the water comes out of, and not out of a tap. So it's also that the teachers in the UK didn't learn those sorts of things. It wasn't necessary for them to learn, it wasn't important for them to learn, to say, well, what would they relate to? How do they relate to certain things? It was all very much geared to the white children and not for us at all.
And it's quite, and that's why some parents sent children back to the homeland, be it Jamaica, wherever in the Caribbean, to school, because the school system is much stricter. The teachers were much firmer and would have a better chance. But then you get back into that abandonment thing, so it had to be handled very sensitively. And I know someone who sent her son over to Grenada, but when he came back, it's that rebellion again, because he had certain way of living with his grandmother, doing really well, came back here, was faced with that systemic racism, the lack of ambition here, where he's left somewhere where you can be a doctor, lawyer, architect, be whatever you want to be, and then come back here. So again, that's that real challenge of that, of what our generation and our parents had to face with.
I honestly, my heart breaks, my heart bleeds. I think it's, you know, when I see people like my mum and my dad and Sister B, and, you know, as I said, we buried Mr. Beckford, and hearing his story from his children at his funeral yesterday, it was really heartwarming to think what he'd gone through, and that he brought up his 7 children and how hard he worked. And I thought, God, they're talking about my dad, you know, because it was just so relatable for all of us there. But what our parents went through and how they managed. And I think my mum, I really think it affected my mum really emotionally. I think my mum never, ever got over the trauma of actually coming over to England. And my dad tells a story that when my mum arrived, she was just traumatized. She was absolutely hysterical because they were living in a shared house that they did those days, you know, like 3-4 beds in the one room. Some people did the morning shift, some people did the late shift, and you know, my dad managed to get this little house, this little room, and you know, and it's my mum knocked the door, and she said that he opened the door, and she's looking for the house, thinking that the whole house is hers, and then my dad sort of took her up to this little tiny room, and my mum said she was just traumatized. She just never ever got over the shock of it, you know. Terrible, really. And then she's left her daughter already in Jamaica, so she was already suffering from that and feeling guilty and all those feelings that come with leaving your children behind or your child behind, and to come to that circumstances. And I think, so how did our parents make relationships, really? Because what strain on their relationship for them as well. And some of them had only just met, like you just said, Lavern, about your mum and dad. My mum and dad was the same, you know, they knew each other, but they weren't really in a proper relationship. So they came over here and they weren't really, it was a new relationship, or it wasn't a proper relationship. It was a relationship because somebody got pregnant and they had to get married. And then they came here. So trying to form a relationship with your partner, and then you start having more children, and then you've got the racism on top. I don't even know how these people stayed together for 40, 60 years. It's a mystery.
But they did. And I think for me, that's why Black History Month as well is around what do we, as, because I mean, I can say I'm the next generation, but I'm not. I'm on my way out. So, you know, we are the generation, the first generation from the Windrush, but there's 2 or 3 that have followed us since us ladies on this call.
Yeah.
How do we take what they've gone through?
Yes.
What are the things we take from that And how does that help us in the future? And if every generation you learn from the previous one, isn't it? How do we take those moments? Is it, for me, always remembering these moments, always celebrating and marking these moments to remind ourselves of the journey that our parents went through and my grandmother and grandfather went through when they came here, to keep us pushing forward, because life's not easy. Life's never going to be easy. So it's reminding us of not to ever lose this message. Yes. And that's why I like the program that Trevor McDonald did last week. It's reminding people who may never have known about it.
Yes.
Because it gets diluted, doesn't it?
It does, because I'm actually I'm on the mentor program, you know, the reverse mentoring program at work, and it's really funny because my mentee is splendid. He's such a lovely chap, and he's very engaging. But he, believe it or not, at 61, he had no idea. This is a middle-aged white male, highly educated. You know, probably went to one of the top Ivy League universities in England, had no idea. When I'm telling him the stories of our parents and stuff, he's like, wow, you know, just cannot believe it. So I know it sounds strange, doesn't it? How do you not know? But why would he know? We didn't even know. We weren't even taught this in school. We weren't taught any of this in school.
No.
But we were living it. We were living it. But I'm wondering if next generation, say my children, how much are they taking on what their grandparents went through? Yes, there was the program, but I wonder how many of the next generation, our kids, watched it and what they got from it.
Yes.
We're taking it on because we're first generation, and we watched our parents go through it, and we lived it too, but not as harshly because they shielded us from most of it. But how much of the next generation really appreciating what their grandparents did for them and celebrating it? And although we keep doing this Windrush thing every year, and it's 75 years, if we asked maybe a straw poll of how many of the next generation, second generation, how much they know, I wonder how much they would actually absorb from what's going on, especially this month.
I think that's such a good point.
It's a good point, but I think that's what we're here for. You know, if you think about some other nationalities, for me, the Asian nationality, the Chinese, legacy passes down, they pass it down. It's not just generational wealth, it's generational knowledge. And I think it's up to us to pass it down. You know, it's not societies, it's us. It's what happens in our own door. What I learned, my dad was very much into Black history books. You know, when others were not, they want to hear and read. My dad was very, very much into that. Even my mum was not into it. My dad was, and he ingrained that in me early doors, stories you to tell me. And you're not going to get, your question's a good point, Lavern. It's not going to be 100%, may not even be 50%. But these programs is about having that conversation. I had some family over from the US this year. And we did all the sightseeing stuff and went up to it's Waterloo and the Windrush Memorial at Waterloo, which is beautiful. If anyone's not seen it, I love it. It's just it's very simple, man, woman, young with the grip, and it's a wonderful memorial just there, right, beautiful bronze thing. And we stopped there because my cousin from Jamaica she'd heard about it, and the guys from the States said, what is this? What is Windrush? What does that mean? Because we live it, but family from Jamaica, most don't know what we're talking about, really. And from the US, completely alien. And so for me to explain what it meant, and I could see their little eyes, they were 12 and 13 and 16, open up saying, what, that happened here? They didn't understand. So it's about a storytelling. It's about not making it as because I think I know growing up, if I heard all about the bad stuff, all about, you know, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, I switched off after a while. I don't want to always hear that. It's about celebrating the harshness, but also making it in a storytelling way so that people can understand, oh, I didn't realize that, celebrating, but also giving those messages through. Otherwise, the next generation's down by 2 or 3 down, they have no comprehension what we're talking about.
And also, and what makes it even more challenging in terms of reliving these stories and keep telling the storytelling, as you said, Karen, is the decline of the Black Caribbean population in England as well. We are really on a decline, and that's a bit of a worry because, you know, when those stories, once we get to a certain point, I think I was looking at some national statistics not long ago, and it showed you, the statistics showed you the number of people that came from the Caribbean around the Windrush generation and that were in England, and we were like like third or fourth on the list in terms of immigration. We're not even, we're way down. We're way down on the numbers of Black British people in England now. So there's higher numbers from from Africa. There's higher numbers from Asia, but the numbers from the Caribbean are really, really reducing. And of course, we're also intermarrying into different races as well, which also reduces us. So our numbers are really, really reduced. And I don't think people realise how much we are on the decline in terms of the Caribbean thing. So it's really important for us to keep it going and to pass it down to as many generations as we can. And as you said, Karen, we are actually going to be talking and celebrating the heroes. We're not just talking about all the harsh thing. We're just sharing our experience as firstborn here in the way of recognition of what our parents went through. But as we go into the program, we're going to do is it a montage? Is that the word? A montage, and celebrate and highlight all the mainly Black British, but Americans too, and from other cultures in Jamaica as well. We're going to highlight our Black heroes. So you're listening to Sister Chat Talk Show, the topical talk show for sisters of today. And look us up on Facebook. You'll see all of us. You'll see Karen, you'll see Lavern, you'll see all of us. Get to know us. There's quite a lot of us. And we're all about empowering a sister to empower a community, and we that's what we're trying to do. And I hope to think that we do our little bit in empowering the community. So get to know us on Facebook. You can also email us on sisterchattalkshow.com. We're always looking for motivational speakers to come on and share their passion, their interest, their good cause, or their business with us, because we learn, you learn. So Sister Chat Talk Show, a topical sister talk show for sisters of today. So as we go on, the second part of the show, we're going to highlight and talk about our Black heroes. And I can't wait until we do that. And before we do that, we're going to put the stage over to our lovely sister Lavern. And it's a bit of a painful subject. It's painful for me. It's an ouch for me as well. But I think that we do need to highlight, because it's a breast cancer awareness this month as well. So I think it's important that we do that. So Lavern, over to you.
Hi, everyone. So as Rosie was saying, our sister Rosie was saying, that today I'm going to give a very brief story about what's been happening to me in the last 8 to 10 months this year, which happens to be my 60th year. I'm definitely going to remember it for maybe not the greatest of reasons. It's obviously a milestone year, and I was looking forward to it. But by God's grace, whether you're religious or not, I'm here. So I'm going to tell my little tale. So at the end of December last year, I went for a checkup, and the doctor proceeded to tell me that they had seen something they weren't quite happy with, and I couldn't imagine what it was. And I've got quite a complex medical history anyway, so this was like something else, which I was really upset about. But in February 23, they actually said it was breast cancer. Now, breast cancer there are normally two main types of breast cancer, and one is ductal, and that's the one they always tell you to look for, where you feel your breast, and if you feel a lump, then you go to your doctor and they do the relevant tests, and then they diagnose or not, hopefully, that you're okay. But mine was something that if I wasn't having that checkup in December, I would not have been found until very, very late in the process. My breast cancer is called invasive lobular carcinoma, ILC for short, and that's how I'll refer to it for the rest of the things that I'm saying. And 1 in 7 people will be diagnosed with breast cancer, but only 15% of them will have this ILC. And to just give you a brief outline of what it is, it's almost like a pinprick of a cell, but instead of it going into a lump, it feathers out like a spider's web. So it will just be getting bigger and bigger, but you still can't feel anything. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any diagnostic tests for that alone. So even if you go for your mammogram, it may not show up. If you go for a scan, it also may not show up. The only time you will know you have this ILC or this form of breast cancer is when you start to feel unwell and you're having symptoms, and by then it's probably already spread. So most Black women, and bring it back to the sisters now, are diagnosed quite late in a breast cancer story if you haven't got it picked up on a mammogram. And I'm just wondering if it's because of the stigma about maybe investigating your own body, and it might feel alien to some people. And you're supposed to also do it during the week after or just before your period. So if you're going to do it then, if you're menopausal, you don't have that anymore, to make your marker for every month to check. And I think some people just don't like, messing with their bodies. They don't want to go for scans, smear tests. They don't want to do any of that sort of thing. But unfortunately, that's really detrimental to us. So I was very blessed this week to go to Downing Street to try and ask the Prime Minister. We went some letters, with 15 letters for the 15%, to say, Mr. Prime Minister, could we really get some help with this invasive lobular carcinoma? At the moment, they are focusing on the other type, which is more common. However, invasive lobular, ILC, is more likely to reoccur because we don't have a targeted treatment. Now, since February, when I was diagnosed, I had surgery. Then I had 12 weeks of chemotherapy. And then I had double dose of radiotherapy. Wow. I'm now having what is called Herceptin, which is a drug that you have every 3 weeks by injection. The nurse comes and does that. I'm lucky for that. And I have to take hormone therapy for 5 years, probably 10 years of hormone therapy. And that's because they really don't know how to treat this different kind of breast cancer. They're just throwing everything at me. And I'm very grateful for the NHS and having that, because obviously if I had to pay for it, I'm not sure where I'd be at this stage. So I'm just hoping to have some awareness, to give some awareness to some people, that just because you get your mammogram and it's all clear and everything's good, just know your body. Just know if you're not feeling well, go and check yourself out. Don't just say, oh, I don't feel very well today. If it's continuing and you're losing weight for no reason, then you're not dieting, then just go and get yourself checked out and be persistent. I remember my mum having breast cancer, although she had ductal in 2011. In 2010, she went to her GP and they said to her, oh, she just got lumpy breasts and that, but she knew she could feel something. And in 2011, she went back again and she said, there's something wrong. I know there's something wrong. But the doctor was very reluctant to send her. And she went and had the test, and it turns out she did have breast cancer. So she wasn't of an age, she was 60 at the time, 70 at the time, then we don't know what would have happened, because she just was insistent that something's wrong. And she was being fobbed off. And I think as Black women, we definitely do get fobbed off when we say something is wrong. I know Rosie's been through it with her sister, and as well with illnesses. So don't get fobbed off. If you know something is wrong, be persistent. That's all I am saying. So if you want to get involved in the project that we're doing, it's called lobularmoonshot.org, and you can find out all the information about it on there. And obviously, ladies, do check your breast. Not everyone has this. I said it's only 15%, but not everyone has that. And if you want to get involved, or you want to donate any money to the cause, because we do need 20 million to start the research for diagnostic equipment and treatment for it, feel free. And I'd be really grateful if anyone would be happy to donate to the cause. But as I said, it's called lobularmoonshot.org.
Thank you so much, Lavern. As you know, your story, I had a similar experience. I went for my mammogram, and also was very lucky that it was caught early, and had treatment as well. And it is, when we think about the awareness in terms of Black women, it's really important, because as Black women, we are not always treated the same in the hospitals. They don't treat us the same. We've heard stories about Black women with breast cancer. We've had Black women in maternity, experiences in maternity. Generally, in an NHS, given the fact so many Black women give so much to the NHS, they work so hard, and yet so does Black women. we're not treated fairly. And you're right, we had the experience of my sister the other day, and my sister and I are quite vocal, so we were able to stand up for her and put our foot down and say, no, this is what we want. So I think for Black women, it is hard, and we do need to talk about it. And you're absolutely right. We really do need Black women, go for your mammogram as well. A lot of us don't want to go. We think, I'm not going to go, you know. And it's not, you know, the mammogram isn't the best. It does hurt sometimes, but you have to go. You need to go and get yourself checked out. I'm glad that I did, Lavern, you did. And yeah, the outcome might not be what we wanted, but we are, by God's grace, we are here today to tell the story. And we hope that we continue to tell our story and continue to raise awareness for Black women and breast cancer.
You do have to give yourself a chance. I feel that you have to give yourself a chance if you don't go for the testing. And we've got to be also very grateful that the testing is free.
Yeah. So
if your testing is free, take it. You've paid your taxes, take it. Yeah. So what they're saying is that Black women, 25% of Black African women and 22% of Black Caribbean women are diagnosed at stage 3 and 4. This means it has spread. And the first place that it will spread to is the lymph nodes that are underneath your armpits. So if anything, you had any swelling and your armpit feels a bit sore or it's a bit lumpy, then that's something you really need to go and see your doctor about. But once it's in that system, then it's carte blanche for this disease to move around your body. And that's what you need to prevent it from going there. I was very lucky that it did not spread and it did not go into my lymph nodes. But as I said, if women don't do the checks and they don't go for the mammograms, then they haven't really got a fighting chance with it. And 1 in 2 people will get some form of cancer in their lifetime. And everybody knows someone who's had cancer. Everybody.
Recently, everybody. I don't know anybody that's not. Recently, I just do not know anybody. And while I'm talking to girl, props to my oldest friend, Eileen. She's going through it as well. But, you know, as women and as, you know, we are resilient and we keep fighting and we keep putting the best foot forward. But speak up. I mean, I think sometimes we don't speak up. We're still carrying that old, what we were speaking about earlier, that we don't challenge the doctors and we don't challenge the system. We have to challenge. This is our health is at stake, the health of us, our family members and our children. We have to talk up, you know, and not be afraid when a doctor's in front of you and you feel that you can't talk and you can't say, sorry, we're not slaves anymore. Let's just talk up, put ourselves forward and fight for ourselves. Because, and it's the same with the criminal justice system as well. And anything like that, we have to talk up and fight. We're here. A lot of Black people have got no intentions of going anywhere. They've got no intentions of going back to Africa or going back to the Caribbean, even though me would if I could. But a lot of Black people are not going back. So I think we need to make sure that we make a stand and we talk up and there are organisations, Lavern, you've just mentioned your organisation. There are organisations that you can go to that can advocate on behalf of us as Black people, because this is where we are now. So thank you, Lavern.
Can I just ask a question? Can I just jump in? Because Lavern, thank you so much for telling your story. And I hope that it will resonate with a lot of women out there. Like you say, mammograms, smear tests, don't miss the opportunity to take them. As much as they're a bit uncomfortable and a bit invasive, I had 2 mammograms. My first one, they found something. I had 2 biopsies and thankfully everything was fine. But I learned something new today when you mentioned about the ILC, because you said there were no symptoms, or, well, you said it's hard to detect it, because I've had 2 results and thank God the first one was tested, second one was clear only 3 weeks ago. What with the other ILC, how would I know what some of the symptoms are?
So that's the problem. That's why we are pushing to get this money because we don't know. You don't know until maybe it's stage 3 or 4.
Right.
You don't know. There are no signs. It's when you're starting to lose weight, maybe. And as I said, if you feel underneath your armpit, you know, when you're washing you and it's a bit tender and you feel, it's a bit tender under your armpit, that could be a sign that maybe there's something untoward going on. You know, we have a wash it twice a day, so we know, we feel something. If you feel it's a bit tender on that's the one place that it really shouldn't be tender. If you've got a sore throat, then your glands will come up here, but it's not going to come up underneath your armpit. If that is the thing, then you need to be really going to see the doctor and say, you know what, I feel this, can I have this checked out, please? Can I get a mammogram? And don't stop there. They say, oh, the mammogram is fine. He said, well, you know, I was on the chat and she said, you know, maybe I need an MRI to determine that there really is nothing happening there. And you know, you never know if my little information and my little story can save a life, or save them from going through what I've been through with all the chemo and the radio and all that. I was really lucky that my treatment was not as harsh because it didn't spread. So I didn't have the really harsh chemo, and the radiotherapy has lasting effects. But I just think if this little piece of information can help someone else and spread the word. So if you heard it today, tell another sister, tell another sister, tell another sister. You know, enlighten everyone, because most people have not even heard of it.
You and I are both, you know, living proof that you have to go for your mammogram. And as scary as it is, and I've been discharged from the hospital, and they sort of said I don't have to come back for God's grace. But I took myself off. I'm not leaving it a year. Took myself off and make sure I go, even though I don't have to go every year now. But I will be going every year. And as painful and as scary as it is to go and waiting for the results, it's very scary.
Yeah.
I have to go, and you know, and I went recently, and I just think like it is scary, but so many of us have been touched, so many sisters have been touched by this terrible disease, and so many sisters do still not go. I mean, I've spoken to sisters that don't go for their mammogram. I've spoken to sisters that don't go for their smear test. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's so important that, you know, this is, you know, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and also it's awareness of our Black History Month and celebrating us. And we want our sisters to be around for a long time. So, you know, I think that we do need to do it. And as painful and as scary it is, and I've been through it, so I can tell you it is a scary experience. But when you do it and you know, you get treated, it's you have to give thanks to God.
Yeah.
So we had, as we're talking about, you know, this is all pertaining to us as Black sisters. It's all relevant to our Black History Month, about raising awareness about everything that's pertaining to us. We had Kaio on earlier on. Unfortunately, he just messaged to say that he had to leave the building that he was in. So he's going to try and join us at any time. So we're just going to continue, and hopefully that he'll join us and he'll slot back in. And he's going to be talking about his new LP, which is about the Windrush Generation. So thank you, Lavern, and everybody has got that message. And they say, you heard it from us on Sister Chat. If it can happen to us, it can happen to anybody else as well. Okay, so I think we're going to go on and talk about our Black heroes.
Indeed.
Yeah. I think we're going to go on. It's Black History Month. We listen to LWR, and we're going to go on and talk about our little montage. I think that is. Did you say that was the right word, Karen? Montage.
I think so. Call it like gallery. I mean, just to put concept. So this is a concept. There were top 50 Black icons or role models or contributors to the Black, I call it the Black British experience. And this particular list, my colleague Naomi, I'll give her a shout out for the company I work with. We spent many a late night pulling this list and challenging one another, for me, about significant contributions. And they don't have to be famous. It's just about significant contributions to the community. We do have some global and overseas ones who have had a big impact on the UK. But I wanted to also celebrate those people that are right here on our doorstep, that some, and we back to the point Lavern meant about the generations, may not have even heard of, but actually have had a significant part to play in our Black British experience, which is different from the American experience, I must say. So we've got a hit list of top 50 powerful people. This year, the Black History Month for UK's theme is saluting our sisters. So I thought I'd start with a sister, if that's all right. I'll start with one of the sisters. And the person I would like to shout out is a lady called Rose Hudson Wilkin. And I don't know if everybody's aware of Rose Hudson Wilkin, but they would do if they see her on the TV. I'll just read out. She was born in Jamaica, and she's the first Black woman to become a bishop in the Church of England. She was installed as the Bishop of Dover in a ceremony in 2019, a role she wants to use to effect change in a church that she says has been painfully slow to act on racial justice in its own ranks. Rose was also a chaplain of the Queen, so people may have seen her when we have events at Westminster Abbey. Rose is always there. To the Queen, and led prayers at the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle back in May 2018. She wants to stop being the first and for diversity within the Church of England to become the norm. So not only is she a woman, but she's a Black woman. I think Rose Hudson Wilkin is definitely someone for me we should salute and celebrate her achievement, and she's still going strong today.
Oh, lovely. Let's salute our sister. We're definitely. Karen, that's a really good one. Lavern?
All right, so I've gone across the pond, even though, and a sister, but obviously off across the pond. And she was someone I really looked up to. So I'm going for Maya Angelou, who was born in 1928 and passed sadly in 2014. She was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and she was an acclaimed American poet and storyteller and activist, an award-winning author, known for her 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She spent much of her 1960s abroad, living first in Egypt and in Ghana. Working as an editor and a freelance writer, Maya had also had a position at the University of Ghana for a time. First Black women director in Hollywood, Maya wrote and produced and directed and starred in productions for the stage, film and television. In 1971, she wrote the original screenplay and the musical score of Georgia, and Georgia was the best both author and executive producer of a 5-part miniseries, Three-Way Choice. She also wrote and produced several prize-winning documentaries, including African American of the Arts, a PBS special for which she reduced a Golden Eagle Award. Now, I remember when I used to work at the airport at Gatwick a million years ago, and I wasn't flying at the time, I was on the ground, and I saw her in the lounge, and she was just such a tall figure. She was just so stunning. You know, her presence just took the whole lounge. You might as well no one else was in there. But I was really starstruck and I couldn't speak to her. And I regret today not just saying, hi, hello, my name is Lavern. And obviously I'll never get that chance again. But I just remember being so close to her. Well, I can't remember where she was going. But yeah, for me, she's one of my heroes.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. That's a lovely one. I wish I'd have seen her. I've chosen DoreenLawrence.
Oh, yes.
I think, you know, she's a dignified figure. She's a woman of our time as well. And her quiet, calm persona and her mission is just been absolutely wonderful. So DoreenLawrence, Baroness Lawrence of Clarendon, OBE, that's really good. She is a British Jamaican campaigner and the mother of Stephen Lawrence, a Black British teenager who was murdered in a racist attack in southeast London in 1993. She promoted reforms of the police service and founded the Stephen Lawrence Charitable Trust. She was awarded an OBE for her services to the community relations in 2003, and in 2013, she was made a life peer in the House of Lords. Now, we salute you, Doreen, Lawrence.
We do.
So this is your child who you fought tirelessly, and this is where racism has come into play, systemic racism has come into play. She's had to fight a judicial system that is totally opposed to acknowledging and accepting what went on. And I still feel like, I don't know, they say that the guys have been caught, some of them.
They haven't
not all of them.
Not all of
No,
them.
not all of them.
It's just, I mean, they've got evidence after evidence after evidence. And yet still, these killers have not really, all of them, been brought to us. And it's just,
at least one is free. At least one is free, and they know, but they're just not prepared to take it any further now. It's like, oh, we've done with that, we're over it, but not over it because this young man is still dead. Yeah. And his mother is still grieving him. She always will grieve him. So no, let's not be over it. Let's get on with it and let justice be done.
Agree, Lavern, and that one's really highlight the systemic racism in the police force. Yes. And the fact that the contacts and the networks in there, and I'm sure all sorts of people are listening to our podcast, but It was systemic racism, how they got away with that in the first place, when evidence was very clear. To this day, not everybody was actually found guilty for the crime because of the connections within the police force.
Outrageous. DoreenLawrence, we salute you.
Definitely salute you. Should I do another one?
Yep.
I thought I'd go on pick another sister then, actually. So I'm going to pick Yvonne Connolly, who passed away in 2021. So Yvonne Connolly became the first Black female head teacher in 1969 at Rincross Primary School in Holloway, London, aged just 29 years. She arrived in Britain in 1963 and began working as a supply teacher. When she took over the primary school in Holloway, she received racial abuse, was subjected to repeated attacks in some national newspapers, and also received hate mail at home. We could go back to what we talked about, how did people survive, really? She decided to create the Caribbean Teachers Association after realizing at the time that there were not many Black teachers in the system, and if they were, they weren't being promoted. She looked at strategies, how you write an application and how to do interviews. She went on to have a career in education that spanned over 40 years. She was awarded a CBE for her services to education. Now that is a wonderful, 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 not only woman, but her legacy that she leaves behind. I know going to school, I had one Black teacher, I don't know if she's listening to Miss Yard, never forget Miss Yard, who was our biology teacher. She's the only Black teacher I ever knew in all my education. And to have these pioneers to come forward, to actually go through what she went through for the better good, knowing that she's left a country where all the teachers are Black, highly educated, there's nothing wrong, and to come here to be treated in that way, I salute Yvonne Connolly and her legacy.
You're next, Lavern.
I am next, right? So I'm still across the pond. I'm over the water still.
Oh.
So the reason why I picked this person is because I am a super fan of Shonda Rhimes. Now, Shonda Rhimes is a producer and author and screenwriter. She's best known for her showrunner, creator, head executive producer of the television medical drama Grey's Anatomy. And to date, I have not missed one episode. However, the spin-off Private Practice, which I watched from beginning to end as well, and the political drama Scandal, which I also watched because she's just amazing.
Yeah.
She also produced How to Get Away with Murder. Now, just to digress a tiny little bit, I listened to Viola Davis's biography, and she was saying how when she did How to Get Away with Murder, how they portrayed her as a woman who, you know, she could do it all. You know, she was a lawyer, and she said something about being as a whole sexual being, as opposed to, you know, she chose who she wanted to be as a partner, as to be being chosen and being used. She chose how to live her life, and she found that very powerful for her to play that kind of role. So Shonda founded her own television production company called Shondaland in 2005, and is the highest paid showrunner on television and one of the most influential creators ever to work in the medium. In 2017, she signed with an exclusive multi-year development deal with Netflix, which has also so far included the period drama Bridgerton. Who does not like Bridgerton? And a drama series Inventing Anna. Shonda's projects have been widely praised for their diversity and inclusivity. And one thing I noticed watching Grey's Anatomy, although it is a medical program, her main characters, her super intelligent genius characters, are Black. And you won't find that anywhere else. Nobody else would say that the head of cardiac surgery is a Black, and she was a genius. And she also brings in systemic racism in a very subtle way. And so you know that these characters are also having some racist things happening to them in the storyline. So I love the way she just puts it in, not in your face, but she puts it in. And as Black people, we know that it's there and we know what it's about. And it doesn't go over our heads and it's not missed. So I salute Shonda Rhimes for her creativity.
She's a powerhouse. She really is.
Really a
I've never
power.
seen Bridgerton, by the way. I've only just got Netflix, so I've never seen any of those programs.
I've
I
never
know what they are, but I've never seen them.
I thought I was the only one that's never seen Bridgerton.
No,
Oh,
I
you've
keep it to myself.
not?
All my friends go, but I know what they are, and I've now got
Yeah,
Netflix, so I'll
you
catch
have
up.
to watch.
I
Yeah,
don't know why I haven't seen it.
she's
but I
turned it on its head from,
Yeah.
you know, Julia Quinn wrote the book, but she's turned it on its head and had a whole different spin to it. She put the black spin on it.
Oh, I don't know why I haven't seen it. But I'm staying on this side of the pond again.
Okay.
And I salute this woman, and I really salute this woman. I think she is the most underrated, berated, marginalised Black woman today, Diane Abbott.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking on some program, and somebody else was saying the amount of abuse she gets, more abuse than any other MP for being Black and being a female. So can you imagine the level of abuse this woman has encountered? So Diane Abbott was educated at Harrow County Grammar School for Girls and received a degree in history from the University of Cambridge in 1973. Diane's career in politics began in 1982 when she was elected to Westminster City Council, serving until 1986. In 1987, Diane made history by becoming the first Black woman elected to British Parliament. She has since built a distinguished career as a parliamentarian, broadcaster, and commentator. Diane Abbott, I salute you because I can only just imagine how your inbox is filled with abuse and derogatory comments
Hate
about
mail, yeah.
Black and female, and still you rise. You're still here with us, and it's marvelous that you know, this woman is put up with in British politics. It cannot be easy. I salute you.
I absolutely agree with that. I think whatever you feel on the politics, whatever side you're on, whatever you feel of who is a good MP, bad MP, all that stuff put aside, she's one of the first in my time. I can't imagine what she went through and still goes through. And she's still there. She's still fighting strong. She's still resilient. She had a great upbringing. You know, look at her education background. Many of the party on the Tory side probably went to the same schools as her, because her parents, you know, made sure she had that education. But she still fights on. So agreed. Salute her. Should we do another one?
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm loving this. Do not sit. So I'm gonna join Lavern. I'm gonna go across the pond. On this one. And this lady I remember reading about before I realised who she was, and it's Hattie McDaniel.
Oh, yeah.
Died in 1952. So for those who don't know, read a bit about Hattie McDaniel. So she's an actress and radio performer. Hattie McDaniel became one of the first African-American women to perform on radio in the mid-1920s. She also became the first African-American to win an Oscar. Did you hear that? The first to win an Oscar in 1940 in the Best Supporting Actress category for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. After being presented with the award for Best Supporting Actress, the discrimination continued. She could not even celebrate with her co-stars that night because the club they went to for the after party did not allow Black people to enter. Hattie is not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I've read a lot about Hattie McDaniel because I have seen Gone with the Wind, and she's quite an iconic character. And they even say when you watch Tom and Jerry and they have the mammy, we only see the feet and the apron, they reckon it's based on her character. But when you read it, it was actually, I understand it was Clark Gable that campaigned for her to actually be allowed in the Oscars, because originally she wasn't invited to the Oscars, that she was actually nominated as Best Supporting Actress, and he campaigned that she had to be allowed to come to the event. And all the actors, Vivian Leigh and all the rest of it who sat at the front, Hattie McDaniel sat at the back of the hall with, I think, either an Asian or her partner, and she was nominated for that award. She still stands for me. Before Halle Berry, it was Hattie McDaniel for me. I don't want to know what she went through. I can only imagine, but she still rose and she's talked about today. So I salute Hattie McDaniel.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I remember seeing her in Gone in the Wind, and she was in lots of quite those movies back in the day, in the 1920s and 30s. And you know, and I mean, she was almost portraying a black caricature, wasn't she, as well? You know, sort of big mama, and you just can't imagine. Imagine not being allowed to go to the Oscars, and you're put at the back. It's just absolutely amazing. Definitely one to be saluted.
Yeah.
So should I jump in now?
Yeah.
So I'm come back home.
Oh,
I've come back home now, yeah, to Floella Benjamin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if you remember the children's programs. I remember her vividly. She was just such a larger-than-life character. So Baroness Floella Benjamin, OBE, Dale was born in Trinidad in 1949 and came to England at the age of 10. In 1960, as a Windrush child, she was best known for a presenter of the children's program Play School, which I used to watch a lot, and Play Away. Though she came to be a household, whether she became a household name. Floella was the first Trinidadian woman to be elevated to the House of Lords in 2010 and speaks on children's diversity and media issues. Her broadcasting work has been recognised with numerous awards, including an OBE in 2001, a special Lifetime Achievement BAFTA Award in 2004, and the J.M. Barrie Lifetime Award in 2012 for her lasting cultural legacy. In 2018, she was granted an honorary freedom of the City of London, and the Prime Minister appointed her the chair of the Windrush Commemoration Committee to create a lasting memorial to celebrate the contribution to Britain made in the Windrush generation. So, I too salute you.
Lovely, definitely. Well, I'm still on this side of the pond. I am going to jump over the pond. I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to jump, but I am going to jump. Now, this woman is a woman of our time. I think she's only a few years younger than us, so we all know her. And she is a woman that I think is another woman, very similar to Diane Abbott, that's been marginalised and also been, you know, portrayed as this aggressive, angry Black woman. And we're talking about the one and only Naomi Campbell.
Yeah.
Naomi Campbell,
Yeah.
you have to be on our list as one of the top Black British UK women. Naomi Campbell is featured in more than 500 magazines during her career and has modelled in campaigns for Burberry, Prada, Versace, Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, I think I probably said that wrong, Marc Jacobs, Louis Vuitton, and Yves Saint Laurent and Valentino. She began her career at the age of 15 and established herself amongst the most recognisable, in-demand models of the past 4 decades. She was the first model to appear on the cover of Time magazine, French Vogue, and Russian Vogue, as well as the first Black British model to appear on the cover of British Vogue. Naomi, she is so, I mean, you know, people just say, oh, she's horrible, she's this, she's that, she's that. You know, they always like to typecast us, didn't they? They always like to say that we're angry Black women. But just if we just put ourselves in her shoes, you know, she's a pioneer as a Black British model. Yeah. And of course, you know, things would have been said and she would have challenged it. Now, that challenge is probably misinterpreted as being aggressive and all the rest of it. But I think she's also Jamaican parentage, her heritage is Jamaican. So, Naomi, I salute you.
Mm-hmm. And she's still going strong. She's still looking great.
Still looking good.
Still going strong.
Yeah.
And you know she looked good. She doesn't even look her age.
No, not at all. She's still great. She was on the covers when it wasn't even fashionable to be a Black model because, it wasn't. Now it's kind of a thing, but it wasn't a thing when she did it. I mean, she broke the barriers. So
And I think she's quite difficult. I think she probably is. You can tell that. And I say, and celebrate, and she owns it. She owns it because you know what? If she was white, someone wouldn't say she's difficult. Whatever she is, I don't even want to imagine what they want to do with her complexion, her hair, her features. And she stuck her ground. Go for it, Naomi.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we still got time, Rosie. How's that?
Yeah, we're going well. We're going well. I'm just keeping an eye just in case Kyle jumps in, but I think we'll just keep going until we say stop. Really,
we don't need. We can talk forever. We'll always fill in, sisters. doing it.
Yeah, we've got so many. We're not just saluting the women. We will get to some men, I'm sure. But this is sister chat, so we had to put the sisters first.
But this year is saluting our sisters. So do you know what I mean? We can pick up. We got loads of guys. We have, but I'm going to pick another sister.
Yes.
And I'm coming back over the pond. And this is Mallory Blackman.
Oh yes.
Still around today. So Mallory Blackman, OBE, is an award-winning children's author. She has prolifically, I put my teeth in, prolifically produced children's and young adult literature, which often highlights ethical, racial, and social issues. Her most famous work includes the Noughts and Crosses series, which was recently dramatised by the BBC. She was appointed Britain's first Black children's laureate. You hear that? Britain's first Black children's laureate from 2013 to 2015, a position awarded annually to a writer or illustrator of children's books to celebrate outstanding achievements in their field. She continued to promote greater diversity in children's books. I've got her biography. I got it. I wanted it for Christmas. I've got it on my shelf, and I haven't tucked into it yet. I've just sort of flicked through. But I've always been fascinated. I remember when Noughts and Crosses and that, people were reading at school, and I thought, Mallory Blackman, is that a joke? I thought, is that a real name? I realized it was her real name. And then just reading about and seeing her, and she's just quietly behind the scenes, just making that difference and challenging and moving forward and changing the perception, putting those very subtle messages, like you said, Laura, Lavern, when you've talked about Shonda Rhimes, those subtle messages that she's put in her books. I salute you, Mallory Blackman.
Definitely. We salute you.
Right, so am I next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Back across the water on the plane, back across the water. So I'm going to go for, I would say, Michelle and Barack Obama. Now, power couple of the world.
Yeah.
Right, so Barack Obama is an American politician who served as the 44th President of the United States from 2009 to 2017. A member of the Democratic Party, he broke history by being the first African-American President of the United States of America and was the first to be born outside the continental United States. Now, I don't know if did everyone stay up for that election? Because I know I did.
I didn't sleep. I did.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments you just like, I've got to stay up. I don't care what time of the day it is. I've got to stay up. So he was born in Hawaii. His wife, Michelle, is an American attorney and an author, and served as the First Lady of the United States and was the first African-American woman to serve in this position. Together with their daughters, Malia and Sasha, the Obamas became the first Black family to live in the White House. Michelle has served as a role model for women and worked as an advocate for poverty awareness, education, nutrition, physical activity, and healthy eating. Her book, Becoming Michelle Obama, was the highest selling published book in the United States in 2014 and in 2018. Barack Obama's foundation was founded with the mission to inspire, empower, and to connect people to change their world. Now, I listened to Becoming from Michelle Obama on the app, and I must admit, when it was finished, I missed her. Like, I drove to work with her, and I came home with her, and when it was finished, I was like, I'm not going to hear her voice anymore. But the stories that she told, if you haven't read it, it's a must read. I think it's nicer to listen to her if you can, because her voice is just so placid and so calm, and you really can listen to it. You can hear the emotion in some of the things that she went through. So yeah, if you haven't, please do.
I was actually fortunate to go and see her at the O2.
You went?
Myself and Primrose went, and it was we had some awful seats though. We was up in the rooftop, so you really couldn't see her. But fortunately, Primrose had been in a terrible car crash and was just recovering, and she hurt her back. So where we was really not suitable. And I went over to one of the black security guards or one of the guys that worked there, and I sort of said to him, I'm really sorry, but my friend can't sit here. She's just recovering from a terrible car accident and she's got back pain. And he moved us right down to the ground.
Wow.
Right down. So we had a really good view of her. We could hear her so well. We could see her so well. And she was awesome, inspiring and beautiful black woman. And I just thought, oh my God, I was humbled in her presence. And just to hear her speak and the stories, and she spoke about her husband, Barack, and she spoke about her children and her life and her family and her mum. And she spoke about what inspired her. And now she inspired so many women and so many school children. I mean, yeah, definitely Michelle Obama is definitely up there to be saluted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to stay on this side of the pond, and I'm going to stay in current times, which I seem to have done. I didn't do that deliberately, but it seems to have done that. So I'm going to talk about Sharon White. Not a lot of people know Sharon White. So I should say Dame Sharon White is deep. She is what's it? Lady, is it Chatty? DBNE is a British businesswoman. She's currently the first black and first female chair of the John Lewis Partnership, having previously held a variety of roles in the civil service. She was chief executive of the British media regulator Ofcom from March 2015 to November 2019, and was second permanent secretary at HM Treasury from 2013 to 2015. She was the first black person and the second woman to become permanent secretary at the Treasury. Sharon was named the second most powerful black British person in 2019 by Powell list, and a Dame in 2020 honors list. Born in Britain to Jamaican parents. Oh my God, I'm biased. I didn't choose that really. I didn't know Jamaican parents actually. But you see how we go on. And Jamaican parents who migrated as part of the Windrush Generation in the 1950s. She grew up in East London and she studied economics at Cambridge University and worked in a Birmingham church before joining the civil servant as a graduate economic in 1989. I've since learned that Sharon has now stood down.
She's
she's
this week, I think, or last week.
There. So
but she's handed in a resignation to stand down. Yeah.
And I don't think many people know about Sharon. I don't think many people know that there's this black woman of our time who was the head of John Lewis, which is absolutely a prestigious and excellent store. And I saw her on TV recently, and I can't remember, she's been interviewed by somebody. And I hope that when she does step down, and I'm sure she will do, she'll go on to do great things and do talks.
For sure,
and to write books and empower the next generation of black women. Because, you know, it's important to say that black women are really, really making strides in businesses. They're making strides in owning, becoming entrepreneurs. They really are doing great things. And Sharon is of our time, and she's just a wonderful role model and an example of someone that we need to salute. So Sharon, we salute you.
We salute. And it's that legacy, isn't it? We're telling the stories, we're sharing some knowledge that people may not necessarily think who, and then you think, I did not know that. That's the impact, the Windrush legacy.
Yes.
I'm going to go, can I get another one in?
Yeah, can I just say, just repeat what you said there, and I think it's so important. This is all about sharing and saluting and celebrating the legacy of us as black people, as Black British Month, and we're a Sister Chat talk show on LWR, and we're saluting all the great sisters and men, all the great sisters and black men, not just of our time, but before us, and the legacy that they shared and the legacy that they left behind. And we hope that the next generation will learn and be inspired by them. So yes, we continue sharing stories of great people. Go on, Karen.
So I'm going to jump across the water back in the US like I don't know if Lavern had this one, but I'll pick up. We've got to say Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yes, I was going to say her.
Got to say Oprah Winfrey. So her legacy. So Oprah Winfrey, for anyone who doesn't know, and I wonder who you are, but if I haven't got Bridgerton, somebody
You're a
might know Oprah
Martian.
Winfrey.
That's if you don't know who she is. You're a Martian.
So she's a talk show host, a media executive, an author, an actress, and a philanthropist. She's best known for being the host of her own talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show, which aired for 25 seasons from 1986 to 2011. In 2011, Oprah launched her own TV network, the Oprah Winfrey Network, ONW. Oprah was the first Black woman to host a nationally syndicated television show and the first Black woman to own a production company, Harpo Productions. If I'm not mistaken, Harpo Production produced
The Colour Purple.
Absolute Colour Purple, which she starred in as well. She also founded the charity Oprah Winfrey Charitable Foundation that provides education, donates money, and serves meals to the communities. Oprah became the first Black female billionaire. Let me say that. The first Black female billionaire in the United States in 2003. She was once the world's only Black, here again, she was once the world's only Black billionaire and the greatest Black philanthropist in US history. Everything said there for Oprah Winfrey. Her legacy still goes on today.
Yeah.
If there's any young girl or boy think about, I can't make it, I can't do it, you just watch Oprah Winfrey, you read about her, know her story, know the adversity that she went through, and she's been through a lot.
Yeah.
To get where she has today. Again, this is why I say it's about remembering the history, but what are you going to do with that to move forward? She's a great example that as she's tried not to be a victim of her horrific upbringing and to be the powerhouse she is today. So I absolutely salute Oprah Winfrey.
We salute you.
We do salute you indeed.
Great
And one story we've got to, laugh about, not laugh about, is the Swiss story when she went to Switzerland to buy the earrings.
Yes.
And they said she couldn't afford it. He thinks not, she could buy the whole store.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think heads rolled over that one.
Can you imagine the repercussions
when they found out?
As they said to Pretty Woman, huge mistake.
Huge.
That's exactly. That is definitely a huge mistake.
And the thing about it, I'm sure that when you look at Oprah Winfrey, she looks like somebody who can afford some flipping well earrings. Do you know what I mean?
But what she said was she was just in casual, like jeans and a top and nothing fancy. And she said, I did have in my diamond studs, but I suppose they were studs and they might have assumed they weren't real and she wasn't dressed up or anything, to come in a limo or anything. And she just walked the street and went in, but to be denied. And she, produced her card and it was like a Amex Black or something. And they still said, nah.
Yeah.
And then this is such a, I know sort of digress from the 50, but this is that, this microaggression, this over or walking, it shouldn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It could be Robert De Niro, who, if you see pictures of him, he looks like he just got out of bed.
Yeah. And
if it's not, it's because she's a Black woman, went into this store and they've made their mind up, no matter who it was. And I'm glad they did that because that put them to shame. And it could be any one of us walking to any local store now, and you're going to have an impression of who I am, what I can and cannot afford. Sometimes I can't afford it, but I'm going in anyway. But what I can and can't afford. Don't make no assumptions about that because you're not looking at those people. So why are you looking at me?
Right. They always assume that we cannot afford, and that is not the case. No. You don't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what's going on in that pocket. You don't know who they are, what they've achieved. You know nothing about them. So, give them the same grace as you give everybody else. Give them the same service as you give everybody else. So, yeah.
Let's hope that she had great repercussions.
They must have been scraping their knees over that one. They probably gave her the earrings for free after that.
They would have said to her, how could you be so stupid? And she probably would have said, yeah, but she was Black.
There you go.
But the end of story. Nothing needs to be said.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That
was
you
it.
said, Karen, there's no way, if that was somebody else, she wouldn't have been mistaken.
Yeah.
But the colour of her skin alone, and this is the most powerful, one of the most powerful women in the world, and she was denied. So it just reminds me of that old joke that Eddie Murphy used to say, what do you call a black man with a PhD?
No.
The N-word. Because it doesn't matter what you are. To them, it doesn't matter what you've got. What you've got, what you are, who you are, it is the colour of your skin, and that's all. And it's amazing, really, because there's in Shakespeare play, Merchant of Venice says, if you cut me, do I not bleed? We all bleed. We bleed blood. We're not different from anybody else, and we're capable of greatness. So it's so great that we've got people like us, Sister Chat. Big up us, sisters. Big up.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're in it.
And I'm going across. I'm going across. Was it you next?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
It is I and I. So yes, got Trevor McDonald, Sir Trevor McDonald. Yeah, Sir Trevor McDonald. Actually, he was born in 1939, which is the same year as my mum was born. So so Trevor McDonald was born in Trinidad and was already a radio presenter, news presenter, and sports journalist before moving to London in 1969. In 1973, he began a long association with the Independent Television News, and as a general reporter, he was also ITN's first black reporter and one of the country's most prominent presenters. So Trevor later became a sports correspondent, but he was ultimately concentrated on international politics. He was awarded an OBE in 1992 and awarded a knighthood in 1999. He's arguably the most recognisable news presenter in British broadcasting history, with a career spanning nearly 60 years. Yeah, that was an achievement.
It's such a distinct.
You know, everyone, you remember the days when there was a black person on television, your mum would be in the kitchen, and there's a black person on telly, your mum would run from the kitchen to come and see what was going on.
You know, it's
those were the days.
Listen, that's what makes it so sad, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, my mum used to love to. I think she still does. Adores him. Is that voice that he's got? That. Lovely,
it's lovely. Yeah.
So distinguished.
And he did so well the other day on that program about Harry narrated that program in the Pride of Britain last week. That was his voice was just brought it all together. Yeah, he brought it all together.
Yeah, love it. Yes, we salute you. So we do men as well. We're not just doing I am staying in the women's arena, women's space, really. I'm going to be talking about a great Jamaican, and there's so many great people from the Caribbean, but Mary Seacole. Yeah. You all know the story of Mary Seacole. Mary Seacole was a British Jamaican nurse, famous for nursing hundreds of British soldiers back to health during the cholera pandemic of 1850 and later the Crimean War. Her father was a Scottish soldier, I can never say that word, and her mother was a Jamaican practitioner of traditional Jamaican medicine. Mary learnt her nursing skills from her mother, who kept a boarding house for invalid soldiers. Mary was a traveller and visited other parts of the Caribbean, including Cuba, Haiti, and the Bahamas, as well as Central America and Britain. On these trips, she complemented their knowledge of traditional medicine with European medical ideas. Despite being turned away from the military, she travelled to Crimea and set up her hospital near the front line, providing a mess table and comfortable quarters for sick and convalescent officers, and became known as Mother Seacole. There is a statue of Mary Seacole which stands in the grounds of St Thomas's Hospital in Lavern, London, in her honour. Yeah. Now, that was a bit of controversy about Mary Seacole, wasn't it? Because there was always competition between her and Florence Nightingale. And obviously Florence Nightingale, being white, got all the recognition, and nobody actually acknowledged Mary Seacole, even though everybody knew about her in the medical field. There's a Florence Nightingale Museum at St Thomas's Hospital, but there's not a Mary Seacole Museum. And the last few years, they've decided to erect a statue of her at Mary's in St Thomas's Hospital, which I've seen several times. So Mary Seacole, what a pioneer, and to leave her home in Jamaica, you know, and it's absolutely amazing to leave her home in Jamaica and to travel over, and you know, people would have pushed her away, and she still diligently got on with it. And instead of saying to herself, "Boy, let them go on about the business, not my war," she actually got involved and did it. So Mary Seacole, we salute you.
Definitely salute her. Definitely salute her. We can do another one.
Yeah, we've got time. I
Okay.
think we can do probably a couple more each, and I
Okay.
think we will then.
Right. Hopefully, I hope our listeners are enjoying this. So I'm going to stick with the female. I'm going to keep saluting the sisters here. This is the time. And I'm still staying in the US, so I'm going for Venus and Serena Williams.
Oh, yes.
Have to be said. Have to be said. So Venus and Serena Williams are American tennis players who redefined tennis and changed the sporting game. Their stinging serves, alongside potent ground strokes, ushered in an era of power players to which women's tennis had never seen before. Venus has earned 49 singles titles, 7 Grand Slams titles, and 4 gold medals. Serena has won the most Grand Slam titles of all time, with a total of 23 Grand Slam tournament victories, and after recently retiring from the sport, is considered one of the greatest female tennis players of all time. Venus and Serena have broken barriers, winning Olympic gold medals in singles and doubles, and winning Grand Slam tournaments in singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. The beginning of their careers has been documented in the film King Richard, telling the story of how their father, Richard Williams, coached the sisters to excellence. I remember when these two sisters first came on the scene, because they were born in 81 and 1980, so I was absolutely around, and I remember when they first came in. Never seen, you know, haven't seen, apart from, I've forgotten the name of the lady, the first black British tennis player, but other than that, never seen any other black people really play tennis. Not just that they played, they were in finals together against each other. And I still believe there's a part of that very elite tennis society that never ever really wanted them to be there. Yeah. They were not the image they wanted to portray of tennis, with especially Serena with her very muscular frame. There was so much thing about what she wore. Was it appropriate? Who cares? At the end of the day, she was winning, and they never forgot their roots as well, how they come about, how they carried themselves. They've been through a lot. They still go through a lot. Their father, love him or hate him, was a tough man who saw the potential of his daughters. He did everything to drive forward, and I salute the Williams sisters and their
I think it's absolutely on point. I think if they were white and maybe blonde or something, the coverage and the, you know, but they've been so belittled for looking the way they do, which is a beautiful black women. And so, you know, they're not graced on the cover of the top magazines selling beauty products and all the rest of it, because they're just not seen as that way. So there we go. Once again, we've got this systemic racism that's going on. But you know what? Their legacy lives on, and they are such great players, and people like, is it Coco Gauff? Is it Coco
Gauff? Yeah,
you
she's
know,
right behind them.
She's right behind them. Yeah, you got rid of two.
She was 19. She's 19, something like that.
She's 19. She's got a long way. So they think they've got rid of these two black women, that they're soon to retire. But you've got people like Coco coming up, and Naomi Osaka as well, isn't it?
Naomi Osaka.
Yes.
A guy called Hewitt. I think I saw him at Wimbledon as a black guy from the U. I think his surname was Hewitt, because of course I would sit up.
Yeah.
And he's coming through.
Yeah. So really, I think the Tennis Association has to see now that times are changing, and we're living in a diverse world, and black people can play tennis, and they are good at it, and they're going to be around for a long time to come.
Actually, and it's not Hewitt. What's his name? His name is Chris Eubanks. Apologies, it wasn't Hewitt. Eubanks.
Oh yes, Chris
US Eubanks coming through. Amazing.
That's right. So we salute these people, because and as I said, the Tennis Association of Great Britain just needs to get used to it. Lovely.
Right, so I've gone for a brother and a young brother at that. I've gone for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
Okay, so Marcus Rashford MBE, so he was born in 1997, so he's a young man. So he's got a long way to go and a lot of things to achieve. So Marcus Rashford, MBE, plays as a forward for Premier League club Manchester United and the All England national team. Away from the pitch, he is a campaigner against child poverty and racism. In 2020, Marcus launched a Make the U-Turn campaign, a voucher scheme in replacement of free meals through lockdown. A highly publicised petition even led to the government and then Prime Minister Boris Johnson doing a U-turn and provide vouchers for 1.3 million school children over the summer holidays. Marcus has been praised for using his platform to be a political activist and philanthropist to drive the societal change. He was awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Manchester for his campaign against child poverty, becoming the university's youngest ever recipient to receive the prestigious award. So well done, Marcus Rashford. And he's just got so much more to do because he's very young, and look what he's done already. But we didn't think of the children in the summer holidays that would get that their main meal would be at school.
Yes.
And then there was no school, so there was no main meal and no nourishment for these children. And he saw that and he stepped in where the government should have stepped in long before and didn't think about the children. The children are the ones that suffer.
And footballers earn so much money and they're seen as this very protected group, and yet he said, this is my background, this is where I've come from, and I know how hard they've gone through it. And to take that time for someone who he didn't have to bother, he's earning his money playing playing football. He went back and said, I've got to give back. And I think the hometown, they painted a mural, didn't they?
Right.
They said they're so proud because he said, I know what it's like.
Definitely. I think this is his namesake that I'm going to do. Or very similar. What's it, Marcus Rock?
Marcus Rashford, yeah.
So I'm going to do Marcus Garvey.
Right.
Yes.
The Honourable Messiah Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, once again, it's a Jamaican. I'm not planned it. Marcus Garvey was born on 17th of August 1987. I think that's so. I want people to hear me what I'm saying. He was born on 17th of August 1887. Now, Marcus Garvey was a Jamaican political activist. He was the founder of the first President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and Africa Communities League. He declared himself as a president of the African ideology, and he was a Black nationalist and a Pan-Africanist. And his ideas came to be known as Garveyism. And there are lots of people that have come after Marcus Garvey. Malcolm X was a Garveyite. We've got Dr. Uma Johnson currently, who is a current American activist and a Garveyite as well. So the teaching of Marcus Garvey was really amazing. And you think all those years back, this political activist, this man left his hometown in Jamaica, like Mary Seacole, and went on a mission. So he was born in a modestly prosperous Afro-Jamaican family in St. Anne's Bay. And he went on to become one of the prominent leaders of his time. And he sincerely believed that Black people needed to be financially independent from white-dominated societies. And he launched various businesses in the USA, including the Negro Factories Corporation and Negro World. And he became president of the Black Star Line, shipping and passenger company designed to forge a link between North America and Africa and to facilitate African American migration to back to Africa. So Marcus Garvey, so many people now are listening to his word, reading his books, and we've got so many activists that are walking in his shoes. What a great man. Some people might not agree with Marcus Garvey, his ideas about repatriation back to Africa, but you can see where he was thinking about. And so many people quote Marcus Garvey now. One of his biggest quotes is like, a nation without knowledge of their background, and it's like a tree without roots. Yeah. And that is so current today. So Marcus Garvey, and I'm going to put Malcolm X in that league, and I'm going to put Dr. Uma Johnson in America, who's very current and very present in the league. I salute you.
Absolutely.
I think we could do one more each, everybody.
Sure.
And I think that we're coming to the end. I hope everybody's enjoying this. This is Sister Chat Talk Show on LWR, and we're celebrating all our Black heroes across the pond, in the Caribbean, in Africa, worldwide. We salute you. You came before us and you made great strides, and we want to remember you, and we want to share and pass on your legacy. So this is Sister Chat Black History Month special. Karen.
Okay, I'll pick up. I'll do a brother in the UK, and this is Roy Hackett. He only died in 2022. I think it's really important Roy Hackett's story is told. So Roy Hackett, MBE, who came over to the UK in 1952, was a Jamaican-born activist and long-time civil rights campaigner for the British African Caribbean community in Bristol, England. In April 1963, he stood in the middle of Fishponds Road in Bristol to block the entrance to the city's main bus station. His mission as one of the organisers of the Bristol bus boycott was to draw attention to the Bristol Omnibus Company's refusal to employ Black and Asian people as conductors and drivers. These events then paved the way for the Race Relations Act of 1965, the first legislation in the UK to address racial discrimination. Roy was appointed an MBE in 2020. And I know the programme that we talked about with Trevor McDonald last week had another gentleman there who was also part of that campaign, who had applied for a job and was refused. But Roy Hackett was, for me, synonymous for that whole, not militant, but actually galvanising the community to boycott taking the buses in Bristol. And he fought, I can't imagine what he went through to fight not just for the Black community, but for the Asian community who were invited here, yet were only deemed good enough to do basic jobs when many of them could be inspectors, conductors, and all the rest of it. So I salute Roy and his legacy, and may everyone never forget Roy Hackett.
Yes, definitely. We salute you. One more for you, Lavern?
Yeah, my final one is Usain Bolt.
Oh.
Yeah. Born in 1986. Everyone knows Usain Bolt, but a retired Jamaican. Usain Bolt was a retired Jamaican sprinter, widely considered to be the greatest sprinter of all time. He has the world record holder of the 100 meters, the 200 meters, and the 4x100 meters relay, winning 3 gold medals at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China, and became the first man in the Olympic history to win both the 100 and 200 meters races in record time. Bolt was also won 3 Olympic gold medals in 2012 Summer Olympics in London, along the way notching another Olympic record of 9.63 seconds in the 100 meters, making him the first man to set history in the in 3 world records in Olympic competition. He has transformed the world of athletics. Now, I know and you know that most people had to watch when he was running. It's not that they don't care about athletics as much, but when he was running, everyone was glued. Everybody was glued to the television. And he has such a personality. It's not just he's a sportsman, he has a great personality. He hasn't done anything wrong to say, oh, there's controversy. So there's been no controversy around him. And that's really hard. That people would probably have tried to set him up for that. But he didn't fall for it. And he's just been a really outstanding advocate for athletics and for Jamaicans, and being a great competitor.
Yeah,
definitely.
And once I was in Jamaica, we was on the, I think it was Hellshire Beach, and we was all sitting there, and next minute we see something go past us, and then we could see all these camera crews running after him. We left him in the sand, and it was Usain Bolt. And when he came back, he took pictures with us. I can't find the picture. How annoying. But he was a great man, and he's definitely worthy to be saluted. So we salute you, Usain Bolt.
Yeah, indeed.
It's left to me to do the last one, and because this is Sister Chat, we have to do a sister. And we saluted so many. And as you said, Karen, earlier on, I hope people have really enjoyed this montage of our Black History Month, and I hope that people listen back to it again and again and again, and learn about all the people that come before us. But I'm going to leave us with a Rosa Parks, the great Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks helped initiate the civil rights movement when she refused to give up her seat to a white man on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. Her actions inspired the leaders of the local Black community to organize the Montgomery bus boycott, which lasted for more than a year. President Clinton presented Rosa Parks with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1996, and she also received a Congressional Gold Medal in 1999. Over the next half a century, she became a nationally recognized symbol of dignity and strength in the struggle to end entrenched racial segregation. Can you imagine? She must have been sitting on the seat, and when that man asked her, she must have said to herself, "Ooh, me? I'm retired."
I've had enough.
She said, "No, not today."
Not
That's what she
today.
Not
said.
today.
No,
I'm
not
tired.
today.
Not today. And I think one of her speeches said she was tired of being tired.
Yeah.
So Rosa Parks, we salute you. A
Yeah,
great
we do.
sister. Thank you, ladies. I think that was really good. I learned some stuff as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I have to give props to my sister Karen Hewitt there, who organised this and did this. And, you know, really, thank you so much, Karen.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah.
And thank you, Lavern, for sharing your story of breast cancer awareness, especially for us Black women who's been touched by it ourselves. We do know. So all I can say is, unfortunately, we couldn't get Kaio back, but we will play his track on the show, and we want everybody to go and download his track. You can download it, and I'm going to check and give you all the details where you can download it. You can go to, it's just coming up. You can download it, or it's called the Windrush Anchor Anthem. And I think you can download it on Amazon. So please, everybody, go and support Kaio, and it's in tribute and celebration of the Windrush generation. And it's called the Windrush Anchor Anthem, and you can download it now. Okay. So, Karen, is there any shouts out? Lavern, any shout outs you want to give before we go?
Yeah, shout out to my mum and dad, my sister, my beautiful nieces Naomi and Harmony, my partner Mark, and anybody else that knows me.
Lovely. Thank you. Lavern?
Yeah, shout out to all my family. They're all over the world at the moment. Kids do travel. My kids do travel. And yeah, all my family everywhere. And just also to give you that website again for the breast cancer, that I had was lobulamoonshot.org. Get all the information. And if you don't have that kind of breast cancer, and unfortunately you get in a position where you do get that diagnosis, there are lots of people to help, as well as Macmillan, but there's breast cancer now also, and they'll give you lots of assistance and help. So don't suffer in silence. Talk to your friend. If you feel something, don't be shy. Get your friend to come with you, but just don't sit on it and do nothing. Help yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. And I can only agree to that as somebody who's also had breast cancer, and making sure that I go and get checked out, no matter how scary it is. I do. And so I advocate for all Black women to go and get yourself checked out, whether it's breast cancer, whether it's cervical cancer, bowel cancer, get yourself checked out. And don't be afraid to challenge the medical profession. Challenge, and demand. So you're listening to Sister Chat Talk Show. You'll catch us on the last Thursday of every month. So this is October the 26th. And I hope you're listening. I hope you enjoy it. And as I said, I'll big up to all our sisters that are involved in Sister Chat and that are listening in and supporting us. So all I can say for me is a shout out to my family, to my friends, and to everybody that's continued to support Sister Chat on our journey. And that leads me to say good night.
Yeah. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.